Welcome to The Current by TreasureCoast.com, where we discuss interesting people, places, and happenings on Florida's Treasure Coast.
Catherine, thanks so much for joining. We've been working together for a while, and I thought it'd be really cool because obviously, so much of our, like we had said before, we actually haven't met in person.
Yeah.
I always follow you on Facebook, and we see all the posts, and whether it's through TreasureCoast.com or me personally, like we'll go to the market or we see what's going on, and it's just really cool to see how it's evolved and the feedback that it's gotten from people. It's really just an awesome thing. And so maybe we could start by you talking a little bit about who you are and the market itself.
Sure. So it's a
Cool.
pleasure to meet you. I never got a chance to see you in person. We probably crossed paths along the way,
Right.
but we never really got a chance to talk in person. So it's kind of nice to put a face to the voice. So,
Yeah.
okay, so about the market. So the market started 5 years ago. So it's going to be 6 years in June. Initially, it was just a project, an outlet. We were coming out of COVID, and people were eager to talk to each other and like kind of relate and have a conversation. We were cooped up for, I don't know, COVID was like a year or so. So it was a small little market. We were about 20 to 25 vendors. And then it just kind of grew. Tradition was kind enough to like absorb the market and brought us into Tradition Square. And we've been there for 4.5, almost 5 years too. So now we are 100 vendors, and this 100 vendors, we have three produce vendors. One comes from Fillsmere, one comes from Okeechobee, one comes from Loxahatchee. We have a local rancher. They come from Hob Sound, and they bring local grass-fed beef and pork, which is very hard to find. Then we have, all kinds of different vendors. We have microgreens, sourdough, bread, desserts. We have all kinds of different vendors. They all What makes it really special and what makes it really unique is people are so talented. Like I walk around the market and I see the ability and how they can put things together. And it just really amazes me how much talent we have. And they're regular people, people that live in the community that are just wanting to have an opportunity to bring out what they do, what they make, what they cook, what they bake, and it just makes it really special.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting point too, because a lot of times people will think of the typical things that you might find at a market, maybe produce or something, but they don't always think about maybe the very niche things that people see, and they're like, oh wow, that's really cool. What do you think? I mean, what made you, what gave you that idea? I mean, I can understand why it would stem out of like a time where people probably craved that socialization, but what made you want to take that step personally? Like, do you have a background in anything like this, or what was the spur of that?
So I was a vendor, just, and I still am. Like if you come to the market at any given Sunday or any of my events, I'm a vendor with a tent just like anybody else. So I was looking for a stable local uh, market where I could just be there every week and be able to sell what I was selling, which is a funny story because I started selling dresses, little girls' dresses. And the beginning of the whole project was called Tiny Dresses, which I still have a bunch. But and then from that I grew into selling like little desserts and cakes and things like that, and I fell in love with the whole baking thing. Then after that I started selling produce, and I will go into a farmer in, I think it was in Vero, and then I will go to Sarasota, and I will go to Palm Plant City, which is in the middle of like both coast. And I will pick a lot of produce from farmers and I'll bring it to the farmers market here. So from there, because I was had produce and they were organic, things didn't last very long. I ended up making jams. So and that's how Jam Jams was born. So and then Jam Jams is still alive to this day. It's what kind of kept me going because I just again I fell in love with the jams and the bakes and all that. So more and more people started trusting me and coming into the market, and we saw there was potential. We saw there was a need for that, and I really feel like as person Lucie, it grew so fast, so quick, and there's one thing that everybody wanted, and they still ask for, is that small town feeling of just talking to people, knowing your neighbor, walking and be like, hey, good morning. And, we lose that as the city gets bigger. We tend to lose that little communication, the ability to talk to strangers. So when you come through the farmers market, it's just very normal for people to say good morning, how are you, that's that kind of small town, and you get to talk to the person who's making your coffee, or the person that made the bread, or the rancher that brought the meat, or the farmer that picked the eggs that morning. So you get to talk to the actual person, and they know your name and they know what your favorite is, and they greet you like, like in a small town. So people really enjoy that. I enjoy that very much, and that just kind of made it into, we need to keep this alive. We need to keep this going. And so 5 years later, we're still there.
I think that's a really good point, because I think that people kind of, there is like almost like a nostalgia
Yeah.
to markets that people
Yeah.
do kind of crave. And I think you're right, especially in a place like Port St. Lucie, especially in a place like Tradition, where
Yeah.
it's grown so much. And you always see it. Like, you drive around Tradition, you're going to see, a big regional park being built or a huge, development being built. And I think that
Yeah.
probably it makes it more kind of solidified in someone's head for like that craving of that, maybe the
Yeah.
connection. Um,
Right.
that's a really good point. Do you,
And so
would it be
we
worth,
go ahead.
no,
Sorry.
go ahead. You go ahead.
So
I think it's probably, you probably have something more interesting to say to anybody who's listening to this topic than I do.
So we have now we move into a brick and mortar where we have a lot of the things you can find at the farmers market. So, but people always ask, well, the store is going to replace the farmers market. And it's like, there's no way. That the farmers
Right.
market's more of an experience. You walk, you talk, you meet people. The kids get to run around in the grass or go into the water. And so the store is more like a convenience of, if you need it during the week, or if you place an order, you need a place to pick it up, or you run out in the middle of the week, you can go grab it. But it's not the same, going to the farmers market and walking and just, it's just this, the aromas that are going through, the people talking, the birds chirping, like all that together is just what makes you feel like, man, this city's not that big after all. Like, we still a little town, especially when they're like, hey John, how are you? Same as last week. Sure. Would you like an extra cup of sugar? Yeah, I can. It's just that little connection, that human connection that we all crave, that we all love. You never get that when you go to a big store. You will get that when you're in this little small town, and that's what I feel people really enjoy about the farmers market.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because you're right. Like, even if it is more, you could even be in a place like New York City where you have a little market and you kind of have those personal, even though you're kind of in this concrete jungle, you still could
Yeah.
have these real human interactions that go on.
Right.
And even in a city that's growing. And I think that that's really cool when you describe like the artisan market and the differences. To me, when you had done that, I thought it was really complimentary because it's kind of a way to it's a different way to get exposure for the stuff that you
Yeah.
might also see at the market.
Yeah.
How's the feedback been from? Is it the same vendors that are in the market
So
are
we
in
have
the
been
brick and mortar market, or
we have a little bit of vendors that don't go to any farmers market because of limitations, physical limitations, or
right?
they just don't have the time. But then we also have a lot of the vendors from the farmers market that have their product there. So if you miss it on a Sunday or if you run out, like we have the local honey, and then we have like the sourdough, and we have the olive oil, the seasonings, the regular bread. We have a little bit of everything, like the necessity things, but then we also have the soaps, the candles, the coffee mugs, the home decor, things like that. So the feedback for the store has been great. People really like it, especially because anybody that comes to the door is just like, "Hi, how are you? Good morning. How's your day?" Um, People want to talk, and they just let us in into their struggles or their situation, and then they shop around, and it's just that personal service. Like, you go into any store and people barely acknowledge you, and if you need help, they're like, "Oh, I don't know what you need," but we try to help them. And one of the first things we always say is like, everything inside the store, it's owned by local vendors, and it's true. Everything that you see in there, it's owned by a local vendor. Like, we have the pickles, the fish dip, the ice cream, the milk, the chocolate milk, and none of that comes from a big chain. It's just a local vendor that makes it, and people really enjoy that. But there's one more step. Now we're taking things further, which you're probably going to be the first person that I'm going to be telling this out loud. We're opening a coffee shop where we're going to
Oh, very
have,
cool.
yes, it's not going to be next to us, which we thought maybe it'll be cool, but we didn't get that. But we got something just as good. We're partnering up with the owners of Tutti Frutti. And so now there's going to be Artisan Cafe, and it's going to be in Tradition Square where Tutti Frutti used to be. And so it's kind of like
Oh,
this.
nice.
Yeah. So we're super excited. Like, we're remodeling, painting, putting floor. Like, today, I have a crew of people there doing all that.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
so we're hoping that, yeah, it's a lot, but we enjoy it. And it's going to be kind of like the same concept, but now you can enjoy the things we make at the store. Like, you can have an empanada, pan de bono, you can have the sourdough toast, you can have coffee, you can have all the little things, but now you have a place to sit down. And so, it's like kind of like it keeps growing. And again, all the bakes, all the things that we're selling at the coffee are from vendors of the farmers market too. And I'm gonna be a barista, and then somebody else is gonna be
Yeah,
making matcha, and we just, it's a group of girls just trying to have a cute little bake shop with nice coffee. I enjoy coffee. I love a good cup of coffee, so I'm like, I'll be the barista, please. So
yeah, that's
that's our
awesome.
next
That's a
project.
cool. Yeah, that's a really cool spot, and that's a cool way to kind of continue to like marry the different things that vendors are providing. Like you mentioned, like a sourdough toast or something, or an
Yeah,
empanada, and I mean, I could see
yeah,
that being a really cool. And that's an
yeah.
awesome location right there where Tutti Frutti was.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a little bit of the art and the home decor at the store, but it's gonna be like little samples so people can get an idea what they can find at the store or artisan market. So like the artisan cafe will have some of the you know blind day with a book, or Mad Hatter's candles, or the goat soap. And then, if you want to see more, then you can go to the main store and just, have like the whole display. But because
Right.
we also do gatherings at the store. Every Thursday night we have a gathering at the store. So either we do like tonight is the book club, and it's a bunch of girls, and they love books. and you don't have to read a book. You don't have to sit down and read the book, but they talk about books. And this is one of my favorite gatherings because they're super loud. They laugh a lot, and everything it's from a book. And so they created books, they talk about authors, they talk about, did you finish that book? And so every Thursday night we have something going on. And we give them a free glass of wine. So that definitely helps. And like the week prior, we have the nightmare before the holiday. So it's a Halloween event. And so we gather the vendors from the store that have that type of product. So we made like a theme event, and people love it. They always say like, this is so great. I have something to do. I have something to look forward to. And we have candle making classes, cake decorating classes, skincare, like workshop. So it's fun, but we always get the same thing. This place is getting too small. So not that
Yeah,
the cafe
right.
is gonna make it bigger, but at least we have now a place that we can do kind of like the same thing, but you can sit down.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like a way to have different, you just kind of can have a different purpose for each space.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What is the process if somebody wants to become a vendor or if they want to get involved with um, the market in general? How would someone go about that?
So becoming a vendor is, I every time I get somebody that comes to me and I say, hey, I have an idea. How can I become a vendor? The first thing that I will say will be go to a farmer's market and make yourself familiar with how do vendors set up. Like you're gonna need your tent, you're gonna need your table, you're gonna need all these little things that if you're not prepared for that, then it's gonna make it really hard. But becoming a vendor, you just have to, right now the farmers market, the traditional farmers market, it's full. So we're not accepting new application into next year. But um we try not discourage people from pursuing their dream. So I usually guide them like, okay, so tell me what you're trying to sell. And they'll be like, oh, I just want to
Right.
do burgers. Okay, well, so you need to contact the Department of Agriculture. You need to let them know what you're trying to do. You're gonna need a extinguisher. You're gonna need. So they start building like trying to gather the things they're gonna need, and then by the time they're ready, then we probably will be able to get them enrolled and get them in the market. But it's not super complicated, but there is a lot of rules and regulations. Like you have to make sure that you have all your permits and all your licenses in place.
Yeah, I'm sure, especially when you're dealing with food,
Yeah.
um, you don't want to get to a point where you're just kind of letting anybody in, and then it's like there's.
Oh
Yeah, I
no,
imagine that wouldn't look good for the market itself. But I'm happy to hear
no.
that it's full. You've been full for a little while there, right?
Yeah. So uh, you can only have a certain amount of people selling soaps or candles. So we kind of win out the things that we have multiple, and then just keep the things that people enjoy the most. And food is always, people are always willing to try
Sure.
something new. Desserts is another thing, but yeah, we've been full for a little bit, thank goodness. I feel like we put a good team of vendors that would definitely look out for the market, for the best for the market. We always help each other out. We're always like, hey, do you need this or you need that? And you see them like helping each other set up a tent or helping each other put up the weights and things like that. So we have a really nice team of vendors that are very consistent. They're always trying to do the best for the market to make the market look good. So it's been very nice on that side of it. Plus the weather definitely helps.
For sure, that brings out people's best
Oh
attitudes without a
yes.
doubt. And
Yes. Oh
but
my
you're right.
God.
I feel like that probably helps the kind of like you mentioned with the socialization aspect and people just enjoying that human connection. I think that's probably a good that it makes sense. I imagine like the vendors who are going out there are kind of have a more, I guess, inclusive way of going about it, and at the end of the day, everybody um, wants each other to be successful, especially in a place like that.
Yes. Yeah. And we have a lot of our vendors that this is, believe it or not, this is how they make their living. This is how they pay their mortgage. So they are super
Yeah.
committed, and they are, do whatever they can to make sure that the market as a whole is successful. Because if I succeed, they succeed. If they succeed, then we all do. So
Right.
we all understand the importance of making sure that, it's not just you, and it's not about you, it's about the whole group. Like, there's one of the rules that we have with the market, and it has been a little bit of like a rock in the shoe for some people, and it's that we don't allow people to bring dogs there for adoption or for free or trading, or we just don't allow it. And it some people really disagree with that, but my point has always been, if you sell this dog to somebody and something happens to the dog, we don't know who you are, we don't know where that dog came from, we don't know if it's stolen, and we don't know what kind of dog it is, healthy or sick. But the thing that that person that bought that $500 dog out of the farmer's market, it's going to be, I bought at the farmer's market in tradition.
Yeah.
They're not going to say I bought it from so and so. They're going to say I bought at the farmers market in tradition. So those are the things that we always try to protect. And you see the vendors when they see somebody walking around with a little stroller full of puppy, they're like, "You're not allowed to do that here. Please don't." And we have stopped people from. I mean, it happens almost every other weekend. Somebody walking around with puppies and they're selling them for $100, $50. There was one lady that she was about to buy a golden retriever for $500. And it was like an 8 months old. It was a beautiful dog. But I was like, ma'am, you got to think about what you're doing. You don't know where the dog's coming from. You don't know if it's sick. You don't know, you know, you need to have a vet. And then to the guy, I said, you don't know what they're going to do with this dog. They can feed it to another animal, and it's just very
Right. Right. You don't even know these people.
dry. So I like the idea that the vendors are looking out for the best interests of the market. They understand that if anything damaging like that were to happen, it's going to affect all of us.
Yeah, that makes sense for everybody to kind of have that similar um, goal of trying to maintain that reputation.
Yeah.
Do would it be worth before we finish up, because we're getting on 30 minutes? I wanted to try to talk about, and tell me if you think you'd rather talk about something else. But some of the events, like you guys, I think you've got like the World Fair comes up soon, or is
Mhm.
that? I
We
know you guys
already
have a
had
host
it.
of different events that are pretty regular. Was that just a couple weeks ago?
It was last weekend.
Last weekend. What do
Yeah.
you have coming up? Do you have something coming up in November?
I have the day after Thanksgiving.
Cool. I mean, do you want to talk about any
Sure.
events you have coming up, or any regular events that you've got that people might want to keep their eyes on in the future?
Sure. We have the youth market on November 9, which is we only do it 4 times a year. We do it on fall, winter, summer, and maybe Christmas. But the youth market, it's coming up on November 9, so we can talk about that if you want.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. I think that would be really interesting.
All right. So last weekend we had the World Fair, which is one of my personal events. No, I think I love all of them, but that was one of my favorites. And I love that one in particular because during the farmers market we have vendors that are from all kinds of different backgrounds. So but they don't get to really express that. You can't really
Yeah.
do much when it comes to like your inheritance. So I created an event about 5 years ago, World Fair. We did it for the first time. And so every year when we do it, all the vendors get a chance to decorate their booth, bring out their inheritance. They dress up, they play music, they bring, food from their country. So it's super nice because in my head kind of looks like walking through Epcot, because you get to visit one country while you're
Yeah.
walking around. And then I have different type of music playing in different corners. So it's like a whole party. It really is. And that's why it's called Warfare Street Party. And so that was last weekend. And we had Romania, Colombia, Venezuela, we had Egypt, we had Iran, we had Palestine, we had a little bit controversy over that. We had even Hogwarts from Harry Potter was there. So we had a little bit of everything. It was a lot of fun. People enjoy it because you get to eat all this different food and listen to this type of music. So it was a lot of fun. We have Puerto Rico, Jamaica, oh my God, Mexico. Mexico is beautiful too. So we had a lot of different countries. But now, for the day after Thanksgiving, it's very similar to the farmers market, but it's a night market with more towards food and gifts. And the idea of that event, it's that people usually have people coming over and visitors, or nobody wants to eat turkey anymore, nobody has, everything is closed, not everybody goes shopping. So we created an event to give people something to do the day after Thanksgiving. So that one is a lot of fun too. And it's usually more calm, like the music is more like instruments, violin, saxophone kind of thing, but live music. But then we also have the youth market, which is in November 9th. And I love that one too, because we get to have like a market that is just for kids from 8 to 18. And they get to bring out all their creativity, the things they make. And the rules are that they have to make at least 80% of what they're selling. So everything they sell, at least 80% of it was made by the kid. So, and those are the best behave, that those kids are great. They behave so well, they follow the rules so well, they don't complain, they are on time, like they are the best vendors you can have. And so that one is in November 9th. And I'm so looking forward to that one because they're super sweet. They're super cute. They're so creative. I love seeing all the things they made. These little girls made all these cute little bracelets and keychains. It's just great. You have to come to that one. You'll love it. It's very cute.
Yeah, that's really cool. We'll have to see what the schedule's like because that's really interesting. I'm sure that the kids that come out there are. It's cool to think about just young kids who are kind of I don't know, like finding or honing in their like a passion or a purpose or
Yeah.
something. That's I mean, you think about when you're young and sometimes people, if you're lucky enough to have something that you really enjoy and you're able to work on, you're able to like
Yeah.
see the fruits of that labor. So that's really cool. I could see that being a
Yeah,
really fulfilling
and you
event.
see this stand in there and be like, I made this, and this is
Yeah.
I made this cookie, or I made this soap, or I made this candle, and they're so proud, and they're just eager to show people what they did, and they're so sweet, and they love the opportunity to be able to have their own table with their own little tent, and they feel like grown-ups. So it's very nice. I love seeing how they get so excited over, and they're super early, they don't complain about being too hot. They're like, no, I'm good. I'm good. They love it. It's the cutest
Right.
thing.
That's great. Well, but before we wrap up, do you want to tell people how um where they can find you? I mean, of course, we'll link to like the, social media and stuff like that, but where can people learn more about the market?
So the best way, honestly, the best way is to stop by the farmers market, because um one of my biggest concern is that there is a lot of scammers going around. So they will send you invitations and say they're coming from the market. The best way is to stop by the market. You're always going to find me there from 9 to 2. Please don't come before 2 because I'll be too busy. And don't come right at night because I'll be super busy. But the best time, the best way is to come to the farmers market. You can email me, you can send me messages through social media. It'll take me a little bit to get to it, but I'm pretty good about responding. Um, but the best definitely is if you want to see it in person, if you want to talk about it in person, stop by the farmers market. I'm always there. And that's the best way to get like all the information. I don't have the application posted online. I don't have it on a website because I don't want people to get scammed, and I don't want anybody to copy it and give it to somebody and pretend like it came from us. So I feel like the best way is just get it from the source. And I will ask you a couple questions, and then I usually email it directly to the vendor himself just to avoid any confusion.
I'm glad you said that, and I appreciate it, and I hope that people will go by and check it out. I know for a lot of people, they've probably seen it, especially like in our group. Um, it always gets whenever you post in the Port St. Lucie News and Community group, it always gets like it's gotten especially now where certain posts will get just crazy engagement, and so I'm sure that people have seen they've
Yeah,
seen it so much, and maybe I hope that some people have listened to this, and maybe some of them are like, oh, I've seen it, maybe it's worth coming and stopping by next weekend. So
yeah,
I appreciate you being on. I
yeah.
appreciate you talking a little bit more about like what it is and what it means, and really letting people get like a grassroots overview of what it's doing here.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I mean, thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you for bringing me on board. It's good to finally put a face to the voice, and to, for the opportunity. I love your Port St. Lucie news. It's super engaging. Like I love when you post something and people reply because they're listening. It's just a different feeling when you can get a feedback, when people can respond. And your page is one of the few that you can get a good feedback and people really engaging. So I love that page, and I'm so glad that I'm part of it because definitely
Thanks.
is
I
one of the best.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much. I think a lot of people it's hard to realize, but and not to like there's a lot of things that we could always be doing better, but we actually have a lot. There's so much time that goes into like when you talk about like you don't want people to get scammed or spammed, like you go in
Oh
so many
yeah.
Facebook groups where it's just constant, like it's tough. It's really tough to battle that. There's always people trying to like
Yeah.
Trojan horse the group and take advantage of members, and so we do try to make it a place where it is kind of like a community, um, like a bulletin board almost, where you can go for news,
Right.
where you can go for community
And
updates and not have to worry about like somebody posting about like uh, the whole like I'll clean
sending
your
my card.
ducts, your AC ducts need cleaning. Yeah, yeah, send me your card number.
Oh my God, I've
All I need
seen
is your
that
social
so many
security.
times. Yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
it's just it's
Yeah, we're
really so. But yeah, we're happy that you're a part of it, and I'm really again thanks so much for being on for the conversation.
Yes, yeah. It was fun. Thank you so much. Let me know when you're coming back to the market. So I would love to give you a tour. Thank you for your page. It definitely makes a difference. I love the fact that if anything is happening, I'll be like, oh, let me check in Facebook. I know Person News and News will have something about it. And I go check on your Facebook page and it comes up. So, and I like that a lot of the things they talk about, it's real, it's local,
Mm.
and it's not weird things. So I love that about your page, and I do enjoy it very much. And again, it's one of the few where you can actually get things quick, and everything is real. Like it's not something, you guys are doing a great
Yeah,
job.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. We actually there's stuff that came out with the soccer stadium, and
Yes.
we did a podcast with the mayor last week, and so it's like yesterday there's all these posts and the city comments, we text with the city to make sure, like sometimes people
Yeah.
if we say we don't take a stance on anything, obviously, like that's not our
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
but I do want to make sure like
Yeah.
if we're putting out like a flyer about something, or it's important to us that we put out sources or information and people can kind of dig into it.
Interesting.
And as long as everyone's being
Yeah.
respectful and just wants
Yeah.
the best for each other in this community, great.
But I seen that. I seen, there are some posts that on your page that it has 758 comments. And it will take you a while to read all of them, but it's good information and people usually are debating. There is always once a while or twice they're just kind of like taking it to the other side. But for the most
Right.
part, it's a good place where you can get local information. And I haven't seen anything crazy like, do you want me to clean your dog? I haven't seen that there, so that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Catherine. I appreciate it. And I'll get in touch with you next time we're heading over there for the market.
Yes, yes. And then, you should bring your kids to the youth market too, so they can get a chance. Maybe they get ideas.
I'm gonna check the calendar as soon as we get off this call, without a doubt.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's
Thanks
a wrap
again.
for this episode of The Current by treasurecoast.com. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Follow us on social media or visit treasurecoast.com for local events, tips, and news. Have a guest or topic you'd love to hear on the show? Let us know at treasurecoast.com. Until next time, keep riding the current and enjoying everything the Treasure Coast has to offer. See you soon.